The following program is paid for by Absolute Mortgage, a division of Pinnacle Capital Mortgage Corporation. Absolute Mortgage Company, NMLS number 81395 and Washington CL number 81395 is an equal opportunity housing lender. Tina Mitchell, MLO number 145420, is a licensed loan originator with Absolute Mortgage. Visit AbsoluteLoans.com or call 888-90-HOMES for cost information. You're listening to The Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell. Sponsored by Absolute Mortgage, a division of Pinnacle Capital Mortgage Corporation. Now, in the studio, local mortgage and finance expert, Tina Mitchell.
Welcome to the Money Hour on 1150 AM KKNW, the Saturday, May 30th show. I am your host and mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell. I am here to help you build a strong financial blueprint 1 week and one show at a time. If you're hearing my show at a different time or day, you're listening to rebroadcast, but you can call into the show with any questions, or if you'd like for me to connect you with the guests that I have in studio, please call the show at 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150 or online at themoneyhour.com. And my lineup for studio today, Keith Medley and Brian Walker, final phase inspections. How do you maintain your home from the inside and out? Also in studio, Joe Ride with Sage Advisors LLC, retirement awareness and how to avoid the blind spots we all suffer from when retirement planning. And last in studio, call-in guest today, Larry Goins, founder of Goins Group, an active real estate investor, author, and coach. You will not want to miss Larry's segment because he'll be teaching us how to win in the HUD properties and how to save anywhere from 30 to 50% on those prices. Also, he's going to give away a free book, so you won't want to miss out on that. Great information and great guest in studio. For more information on any topics discussed, please call into the show, 1-855-400-1150. Again, it's 1-855-400-1150 or online at themoneyhour.com. And as always, we're going to start the show out today with a little money chat.
Money.
And today's Money Chat, I'm going to talk about reverse mortgages. What are the benefits for a reverse mortgage and how to protect yourself with a reverse mortgage with some of the changes that have happened? So HUD Reverse Mortgage, after the financial meltdown, left some older Americans with a shortage of money. If you have concerns about monthly cash flow with our local real estate market seeing so much appreciation, you may have equity, may possibly have a lot of equity in your home needed and can qualify for a reverse mortgage. Now, this program allows you to withdraw some of the equity from your home with no mortgage payments. If you're a senior, this can supplement Social Security, meet unexpected medical expenses, or any other expenses that you may need to assist. Now, a reverse mortgage is a special type of home loan that lets you convert a portion of the equity in your home into cash. Now, like any other mortgage, it works. It's a great program for the right person. Not the right person, not so great program. So I want to go ahead and break it down for you. New financial assessment requirements. This took place in March of this year. So they brought in some things to bring in some protection for our seniors that are taking advantage of reverse mortgages. Prior to 2015, reverse mortgage borrowers did not have to go through income asset assessment as the custody of the borrower who are getting forward or traditional mortgage. But after March 2nd, 2015, you now undergo a financial assessment conducted by the lender. This will also include reviewing your credit, which is new. Credit has never been looked at before the changes came into play. Now, the financial assessment is geared towards making sure that you can meet the ongoing payments associated with the homeownership, including homeowners insurance, property taxes, and home maintenance. So there's not a mortgage payment to it, but you still have to be able to afford taxes, insurance, and any maintenance that you need to your home. If you have past delinquents, those delinquents will be considered by the lender as part of the assessment. Now, two, you will now need more documentation as part of the financial assessment. Lenders will need to collect more documentation in order to underwrite the reverse mortgage and ensure you meet the necessary financial criteria. That may mean gathering income tax forms, documentation of assets that you own, payment history for different debts that you have. Now, the same way you would go through your documentation when applying for a forward mortgage or your traditional mortgage, you will need to provide documentation as proof of your financial criteria that required by the financial assessment. Now, you may need to put money aside, money for fixes needed for that home. So if you lack certain financial standing as determined by the financial assessment, you will need to set aside funds for the loan proceeds in order to cover the property charges, taxes, insurance. Also, again, if there's something that the property may need in the future to maintain it, which it's kind of cool. We have an inspection team here today to talk about maintaining your home. If it looks like it needs that, then you're going to have some reserves aside for that. Now, the bad news is the financial assessment will make it tougher for some borrowers to qualify for a reverse mortgage, but these borrowers are probably better served by other options like downsizing. The good news, because if you look at my site and know my personal core practices, one of them being life is balanced, learn to fail, everything is balanced. Here's the good news. By introducing these changes, reverse mortgages will be safer than they ever have been before. The new assessment is designed to ensure that the borrower has financial capacity and to continue living in their home and for the remainder of their lifetime while maintaining his or her reverse mortgage obligations. So a couple more minutes here before I take us to break. So I'm going to read through this quickly, but the information is always on the site, themoneyhour.com. You can listen to previous shows, redo the Money Chat anytime you want to. Just type in reverse mortgage, and I've talked about it a few times in studios, or you can always just pick up the phone and give me a call, and I'll spend time with you. To qualify, 65 or older, single-family homes, 1 to 4 units, townhomes, HUD-approved condos. Property must be owner-occupied. The home does not have to be owned free and clear, but has to have enough equity so that the proceeds of the reverse mortgage can pay off the current loan balance. Benefits, the title of the property always remains in the homeowner's name and will never change ownership. The funds received can be used in the manner with no restrictions. Income received is tax-free and will not affect Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid benefits. Awesome. No monthly mortgage payments outside of keeping up the property taxes, insurance, and also maintenance for the home, which we talked about. No out-of-pocket costs for the program. All fees and interest rates are deferred until borrower senior move out of the property, sell the home, or pass away. The loan is paid off when both homeowners pass away. If there's more than one, you sell the home or choose to vacate the property. The estate or heirs can keep the property once the loan has been paid off, and if the home is remaining equity, it goes to the estate or heirs. Reverse mortgages are considered a non-recourse loan. The homeowner never guarantees the loan will be paid in full. If more is owed on the home, that what it can be sold for, the government is responsible for that. Now, cash options, it's really great. There's lots of cash options, lump sum, monthly installments, line of credit that allows you to access cash when you need it. Combination of all three, or all payment options, again, are tax-free. For more information, you can always go to the National Council of Aging or call 800-510-0391 for the expert, or you can always call into the show, 1-855-400-1150, and talk to me directly. Coming up next on the Money Hour, maintaining your home can save you thousands of dollars. I'm excited to have in studio Keith Medley and Brian Walker with Final Phase Inspection right here on 1150 AM KKNW after the short break.
Would it be crazy if you just stopped everything, packed your bags and left for a week, a month, a year? What if you left for 2 years? Would people think you'd lost your mind? What if you were going far away to help in a village on the edge of the Gobi Desert? A village crowded with Buddhist temples, not skyscrapers. A place where there isn't a word for recluse, but 1,000 words for community. Would it be crazy to go 5,000 miles from home? To spend time with people the rest of the world only reads about? To build libraries and fill them with stories? Prepare a meal with food you helped grow? To teach children and learn a thing or two about yourself? Would that be crazy? Peace Corps. Life is calling. How far will you go? To find out more, call 1-800-424-8580 or visit peacecorps.gov.
This is the Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, on Alternative Talk, AM 1150. Now, back to the show with local mortgage and finance expert Tina Mitchell.
Welcome back to the Money Hour with your host and mortgage expert Tina Mitchell right here on 1150 AM KKNW, the Saturday, May 30th show. I bring into studio each week the best of the best experts in our local economy, our local market, regarding everything that has to do with your money. I'm here to help you build a strong financial blueprint in today's economy. If you're hearing my show at a different time or day, you are listening to a rebroadcast, but you can always call the show at 1-855-400-1150. Again, it's 1-855-400-1150 or online at themoneyhour.com. And I can connect you with any of the guests that I have in studio, and you can probably find almost any topic regarding your financing right on the website and the podcast. In studio right now, Keith Medley and Brian Walker with Final Phase Inspection. We're going to talk about how to maintain your home from the inside and out. Keith, I'm so excited to have you guys back in studio.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having us.
Brian, great to have you.
Thanks, Tina. I appreciate the opportunity.
Of course. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about Keith because Keith is the founder and owner of Final Phase Inspection. Final Phase Inspection has been providing quality home inspection services in the Pacific Northwest since 2013 with hundreds of satisfied customers. Their focus is on customer service and providing the absolute best home inspection and experience. They have multiple inspectors with over 60 years of combined experience in home construction and remodeling, as well as restoration for fire and water damage. They offer a flexible schedule and are available 7 days a week. Special discounts are available to police, fire, and military personnel, and they're also proud members of the Legacy Caring Organization, as I am, which serve our senior community and their families. Very excited again to have you guys here, and representing the home inspection arena, if there's anybody listening that is thinking of buying a home, selling a home, or if you own a home, you need to understand about home inspection. I think a lot of people think, I'm not buying or selling a home. If you're owning a home, it's really important because if you didn't do things right the first time around, or even if you did, there's things that change in your home to re-look at things and what you can do to be taking care of your house. So I'm just so excited to have you guys here. And we're going to talk about spring home maintenance, inside and out. So let's go ahead and start out with what makes a spring home maintenance unique to other seasons of the year.
Well, first of all, spring home maintenance, we want to prepare for this beautiful weather that's coming here in the Pacific Northwest. We also need to remember that we are also repairing from the winter season that we just had. Home maintenance is about preparing for what's to come. It's also about repairing from what just happened. So we remember that in the winter, here we've got extreme expansion and contraction of all of the things on the outside and actually on the inside of your house. So it's a matter of going through and finding areas where moisture, again, one of our friends and foes here in the Northwest, what it's done to our house. Also here at this time of year, we have vegetation issues that are just now kicking into high gear. So those are areas that we focus on.
Makes total sense. And Keith, what are the typical exterior items that should be included in a spring home maintenance?
Good question. Really, it starts with the top of the house. Your roof and your gutters protect your home from this rain and weather that we have here in the Northwest. But you also have the outside, which is your siding and windows, the foundation, which is really the structure your home sits on. But outside, you've got electrical, plumbing. You also have your heat pumps and furnace items, sheds. More importantly, you have children's outdoor structures that have now gone through the winter and are now getting ready for kids to go out and play on them. So those things also need to be prepared so it can provide safety. You
know, that's a good point because I wouldn't think of that. I wouldn't think of the kids' play stuff out there, but that makes total sense. Brian, what should homeowners be doing in regards to their roof maintenance?
Well, being that the roof is one of the most important parts of the home, it sheds all the elements off. And so you want to be looking for moss or any growth of any kind that can damage the roofing over time. You want to get that clean. You want to check around your skylights and around your vents and things like that. Get all that moss out of there.
Okay.
You also want to clean your gutters because once you've cleaned the moss off, it falls into the gutters and you get debris from trees. You want to clean those gutters out.
Makes total sense.
Yeah, it'll help the drainage and get the water off your roof and to the ground where it's supposed to be.
And don't procrastinate, because I can only imagine what happens if you let these things go, whereas if you just get them as it starts, you can really take care of it before an issue comes up.
Yeah, and you want to take a look again at the chimney as well. You want to look for cracks. You want to look for any damage in the chimney. You want to look at your spark arrestor, your rain caps, those sort of things. And call in a professional if you think you need to, if there's some damage.
And what would you think on that and calling in a professional? I mean, having a home inspector just come out to your house, just like everything else we do, we have members of all of our financial team, and we meet and talk with them on a regular basis. How often should you talk with an inspector and maybe have them come out and do an overview on the house?
Well, if you're uncomfortable with something you see, you can do it annually.
Okay.
Maybe every couple of years.
Okay.
Depends on how long you're in the house or how long you intend to be in the house. I tell our clients decide what your time frame is.
Sure.
Depending on projects and how you want to take on your maintenance and the things that need to be done.
Makes total sense. So, Keith, you mentioned siding and foundations. What kind of maintenance is needed in these areas?
Well, there's quite a few, so I'm gonna quickly go through them. But first and foremost on your siding is you want to caulk all of your exposed seams. Remember, we're here in the Northwest, and moisture will find its way into the smallest spaces, and it's those little tiny drips that we don't think are going to do anything that cause us problems. And so you want to look around your siding, your windows, trim, and doors. You also want to look for stains or evidence of moisture damage around the whole exterior of the house. The other areas to look for is your dryer vent. Remember that lint fires, while they don't burst into flames, they smolder and they can cause a lot of damage. So you really want to keep an eye on your dryer vent and duct to keep it clean. A couple other things in your foundation, look for cracks and any type of minor cracks. And a minor crack is something, I would say, something smaller than you can put your little finger in, maybe about 1/4 of an inch. And you want to seal those, keep the moisture out. Lastly, look for any type of debris that's blocking your vent screens in your foundation, because your foundation needs to breathe just like we do, and it keeps the entire house above it happy and healthy.
Makes total sense. Brian, are there other maintenance items that are specific to the outside of the home?
Yeah, there is. I'll go a little deeper into the concrete and driveways.
Okay.
The cracks Keith's talking about, they expand and contract from possible frost and freeze. And you're going to want to seal those so water doesn't continue to get into them and cause those problems as we have some harsh winters. You want to check out your grading and your drainage. Again, this goes with the gutters as well, that you want to take care of drainage issues. You've got probably storm drains and grates that might be clogged up from winter's debris, and you want to pull those open and make sure that the drains are not clogged with the debris either. You'll get vegetation growth, as Keith has pointed out earlier, and you don't want it growing against your structure. It can damage your paint, it can damage your siding, it can also allow insects, bugs to get close to the house. And so you want to keep those cut back when you see them start to grow. And right now they're going crazy. Then you've got, your electrical. You just want to check out. You should have waterproof covers on these and check for damage. Check to make sure that your outlets are working properly. And if not, call a professional and have them take care of those issues. Plumbing, same thing. You want to make sure that you get the cover off of it. Check the hose bib, the exterior faucets. Make sure that they're secure. Hook a hose to them. Make sure that they don't leak. It's very important. And sprinklers, lastly. If you have a sprinkler system, if you're not comfortable working on these yourself, there's plenty of professionals out there that are in the landscape industry that can not only help you with your yard, but they can help you with your sprinkler systems. If you feel that you're well-versed, go ahead and get those things functioning, get them, charged up, and look for leaks and any issues.
Yeah. And I imagine, with you guys, you work with the best of the best in all areas that can help and assist in things that you don't do. So I think it's important when you found your inspector and the person that's going to be taking care of your home, just like you find your financial advisor that's going to take care of your funds for retirement, for which we're going to talk with next, go to their resources and find out who that they have vetted to make sure they're going to take care of you, correct?
Yeah, exactly. You want to work with professionals that are going to take care of you and help you with your investments. That's what you're after.
Makes total sense.
You want somebody looking out for your best interests.
Yes.
That's what you hire them for.
Exactly. So we've talked about the outside maintenance for your home. Let's go ahead and move to the maintenance for the inside of your home. Keith, what are the typical interior items that should be included in our spring home maintenance?
Well, first and foremost, we're going to start with the smoke and carbon monoxide detectors. Those are things that we want to keep an eye on constantly. Your furnace just went through a winter where it was working harder than any other time of the year, as well as your water heater. But you also have areas that you don't see normally, such as your attic space. And then there's those areas under the kitchen and bathrooms where the plumbing are, and any type of water purification or softeners that are there. That really covers most of typical inside items.
Okay. So Keith, do I need to know more than just to test the smoke and carbon monoxide detectors, or?
Well, we typically think of testing a smoke detector or carbon monoxide detector by pressing the button and seeing if it makes noise. The truth is, what we're really testing is the ability of the alarm to make noise. We're not testing, does it sense smoke or does it sense carbon monoxide? FEMA says that all carbon monoxide and smoke detectors should be replaced every 8 to 10 years because their ability to sense smoke or carbon monoxide is reduced or they become non-functional. However, that test button may still make noise. So the other thing to consider is carbon monoxide detectors should be placed near the floor at outlet height. Carbon monoxide pools at the floor and then works its way up. With the introduction of dual-purpose carbon monoxide and smoke detectors, they typically get placed on the ceiling, which is correct for the smoke detection, not correct for the carbon monoxide. So if you can, get a plug-in kind, put it in that outlet, and it'll save you the cost of batteries for 10 years.
You know, I got to say a funny story. Before my mom retired, she worked for Sprague Pest Control. Awesome company. And they have all kinds of funny stories, but we're talking about smoke detectors. They called them Sprague Pest Control because they thought that they had crickets or something. It was the battery on the smoke detector that was beeping. So anyways, I had to throw that in there. Brian, let's go ahead and move over to you. What should a homeowner be looking for in the attic? I don't want to go up in the attic, but if I had to, what should I be looking for?
Well, if you do go up in the attic and feel adventurous, what you're looking for is moisture. After a season of wet and possibly windy, which we get a lot of, and possibly sometimes snow, you want to be looking for moisture leaks of any kind, staining, especially around your skylights or any openings like your vents. You want to go ahead and look for exhaust vents. You want your bathroom and your kitchen vents to exhaust outside, not in your attic, because it creates more moisture in your attic and potential problems. So make sure that they're all hooked up. Lastly, you want to check for damaged screens. So every attic should be ventilated, and that means there's screens over openings. So you want to go ahead and make sure they're not damaged. Check for any animal intrusion of any kind if they are.
Perfect. Keith, what are the spring maintenance items for a furnace and water heater?
Well, I'm going to focus primarily on the gas furnaces. Gas furnaces should be serviced routinely every year, every 2 years at the outmost. One of the byproducts of an improperly adjusted gas furnace is condensation, and that creates moisture that goes out your vent and will eventually rust, and we see this regularly, will rust holes in your vent or rust the inside of your furnace. And when it rusts holes in your vent, it dumps carbon monoxide into wherever area that is. So typically it's in the garage. It will put it into the garage and into the house. So having your furnace serviced is very, very important. Obviously, you want to change your filters at that point as well. From a water heater standpoint, you want to look for leaks. Most of the time a water heater fails, it doesn't fail in a big way. It has small leaks, so it gives you ideas that it's starting to have problems. So you want to look above, below, behind, everywhere that you can on a water heater for leaks. And also pay attention to your water temperature. If you start noticing it fluctuating heavily, it's giving you some indications that it's time to replace it.
Brian, there are a lot of plumbing in the kitchen and bathroom. So what kind of maintenance is needed for this area?
What you want to do is you want to take a look at your drains and any faucets, supply lines, that sort of thing that can spring leaks. You want to look at your cabinets and possibly find any water that might be lingering down on the bottom of those. That would be a leak problem. So you also want to look at garbage disposals, dishwasher connections, water filtration as well. Follow manufacturer's guidelines as far as when those filters should be changed. Make sure they're not leaking. Yeah. And your Insta-Hot, you want to make sure that that thing's functioning properly, not leaking. A lot of times we find them rusted out when they're old.
Yeah. And you know what? I think we did pretty darn good. I think we covered the outside, the inside. I got to take us to commercial, but Keith, give your disclaimer.
Hire a professional whenever you're not comfortable, but do your home maintenance. It will save you thousands of dollars.
Well said. Thank you so much, you guys, for coming in. Excited to have you back in studio. Again, go to the website, themoneyhour.com, type in final phase inspection. You can listen to the podcast, any information that they're sharing, because they're in here on a regular basis. Thanks, you guys.
Thanks a lot.
Tina.
Coming up next to the Money Hour, how do you set yourself up for success during retirement? Joe Ride with Sage Advisors, LLC, right here at 1150 AM KKNW after the short break.
This is the story of Daniel, who was born 2 months early. He weighed 1 pound, 7 ounces. His lungs weren't ready. His heart wasn't ready. His brain wasn't ready. At the hospital, the nurses said Daniel was a fighter, and they would do all they could to help him. The doctor said even with the best care, Daniel may never walk. He may never see. He may never learn. Daniel's parents spent night after night at the hospital, watching his every breath, holding his tiny hands, and looking for signs that he was growing stronger. At home, his parents looked around Daniel's empty nursery, at the quiet toys and the still rocker, and they hoped that one day they could sit in that rocking chair and tell this story to their very healthy son. Daniel's is just one of the more than 500,000 stories of babies born prematurely last year, but there's hope for a happy ending. The March of Dimes is funding the research and programs to stop premature birth. You can help bring more babies home healthy. Learn how at marchofdimes.com. Working together for stronger, healthier babies.
This is the Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, on Alternative Talk, AM 1150. Now, back to the show with local mortgage and finance expert, Tina Mitchell.
Welcome back to the Money Hour with your host and mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell, right here at 1150 AM KKNW, the Saturday, May 30th show. Each week, I share expert advice and inside knowledge on how today's events and our local economy can affect your money. If you're listening to my show at a different time or day, you are listening to a rebroadcast, to talk with myself or the guests that I have in studio, you can call the show at 1-855-400-1150. Again, it's 1-855-400-1150 or online at themoneyhour.com. In studio right now, sitting across from me, Joe Ride with Sage Advisors, LLC, financial success during retirement years. And I'm really excited, Joe. This is the first time that I've had you in studio. Thank you for coming in and visiting me.
Absolutely. Thanks. I'm excited to be here.
And a little bit about Joe. Joe is a financial advisor with Sage Advisors, LLC in Seattle, who works primarily with sales professionals and their families, as well as small business owners. Joe is also the director of corporate retirement benefits at Sage, helping business design and oversee 401k and pension plans. Sage is an independent firm that provides financial planning and investment management services. Joel holds his securities and investment advisory license through KMS Financial Services Incorporated. Joe is a member of the Oregon Trail generation, meaning he's old enough to remember a world that was slowed down and free of today's many distractions. But he also is young enough to have experienced every revolution, modern intention since 1983, from its origin without taking it for granted. That's the way he approaches teaching people about money, by being simple and focused while keeping an eye towards what will inevitably change for them in the future. That's great, Joe. Again, excited to have you here. And I think planning for retirement, like anything that we do with our finances, we talked with our home inspectors, anything that we do with our home, it's all about planning and planning ahead, not procrastinating. And I think especially when it comes to planning for your financial future. So why is it difficult for us to visualize the financial aspects of planning multiple years of income?
Well, one of the things I'm always intrigued about is why we have a tendency to ignore the future. And I describe retirement as we work our entire working life for a paycheck. And then all of a sudden, when we stop working, the paychecks stop.
Yeah.
And those paychecks are now our responsibility. So what we have is 20, 30 or more years of paychecks that we have to take care of for ourselves. Not only that, but the paychecks have to have cost of living increases along the way. And that's where our minds really start getting confused, because one of our human conditions is we do not compute exponential increase naturally. It's incredibly difficult for us. So my theory is that people put off that type of calculation, that type of work, the things we don't understand, until a later time because it's so complex. And we always put off the thing that's complex to do. So,
I had somebody tell me once that if you were working for an employer, would you continue working there if they were going to never give you an increase in your salary? So you got to be thinking about that in your retirement. So you think the landscape for retirement planning has changed for most of us, and this change is under our radar. So how is retirement different than it used to be, Joe?
Yeah, I think it's under our radar because we all seem to understand that people live longer now. That we need to save for retirement, and that we need our investments to do well for us between now and when we retire. But the price of failing in those areas is much higher than it was 20 years ago. 20 years ago, about half of all workers had access to some sort of defined benefit pension plan, and that's a promise by your employer to continue paying you an income after you quit working. And the other folks were saving on their own. Now, less than a third of people actually have access to that pension.
Yeah.
That means that the majority of us, over 2/3, were forced to save for our future retirement paychecks on our own. Of course, Social Security will be there in some form, but what's happened is the past 20 years, we did not necessarily alter our savings habits to make up for that mix or that change that occurred. So we're seeing that people have fallen way behind planning for retirement.
And I think if not only do we not alter it, but I think we went a little backwards, or I guess you say forward, in spending more money than our parents did.
Right, and the price for living longer, of course, is more health expenses along the way.
Everything's panning out that we need to do better in our early years. So, Joe, a major blind spot you see is that our targets are out of whack. What do you mean by that?
Okay, so I found this really interesting when I read it. So Transamerica recently did a survey, and they asked people, of the amount you're trying to accumulate in savings so that you can retire, what is that number? And every single age group said the same number. People in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s all said $1 million.
Really?
Okay, so that's a red flag. Big time.
Big time.
Their most common fear in retirement is outliving their money. Yep. That makes sense. Their top priority today is also to get out of debt. So everyone in their 60s, they're trying to get out of debt all the way down to your 20s. So as far as the $1 million target, I worry about the people in their 20s.
Yes.
And the getting out of debt, I worry about the people in their 60s.
Yeah.
So I think we need to have a paradigm shift. Something out there needs to start telling people that we need to start zeroing in on the right targets for retirement.
Makes total sense. So people are definitely not saving enough for retirement, as we've been talking about. And you say that they do not take enough time for the risk so that their money will grow appropriately. How bad is this problem, Joe?
Yeah, so a nice example I give is millennials, I'm one of them, have now lived through two of the biggest...
You're pretty young, Joe.
How did I get in here?
You just said that we're all really old here.
No.
Go ahead.
That's not what I meant. Okay, so millennials have now lived through two of the biggest boom then bust periods in our history. So now we see millennials, about a quarter of them are enrolled in low-risk, low-return investment mixes in their retirement plans, for instance. And then the average balance saved up by 50 to 60-year-olds is about $172,000. So even if their target is $1 million, they've saved less than a fifth of it on average.
Wow.
And because we don't think of that exponentially increase thing very well, we tend to ignore that for what compound interest can do for us as well.
Yeah.
So if we're not taking enough risk or we're not saving enough, we're not giving ourselves the opportunity to see what magnitude of additional dollars we can get by fixing our habits today as well.
You got to make some adjustments somewhere.
Right.
So what about working part-time or finding another career path during your retirement years? Is that a need for people to retire at their desired age?
Absolutely. I mean, nothing helps you find those paychecks better than an actual paycheck. 60% of 50-somethings plan on working in retirement. 82% of 60-somethings plan on working in retirement.
Yeah.
Okay, so people are anticipating that this is a need. But one thing I question when I see that is that's a lot of people planning on working into their retirement years. There's a good chance that not every single one of them can actually find work.
Yeah.
And then two major distractions will happen. Caring for aging parents gets in the way of people working at that time. So that comes into play, and that's something you can't necessarily plan for unless you're doing it today. Second is a lot of people claim their Social Security benefit early, and they take a little bit of a tax hit if they do that early because those earnings are now subject to tax if they're working.
Makes sense.
So they're not getting as much bang for their buck at that point.
Yeah, and so I love doing this show, and it's just it's an honor to sit across from industry experts in everything regarding money because it's so important. And you talk about the unexpected with your parents, and we bring experts in studio to talk about preparing for that. It's all about preparation, and it's the little tiny steps that we make now that will have a compound effect for us when we get in our retirement years.
Absolutely.
So it seems like people need to do more of their own research and probably hire a financial professional to help with retirement planning. But how are they failing to do both of these?
So that basically says that people are avoiding working with financial professionals or getting some other form of help. That's very understandable. People avoid all sales people in general. But here's a couple of stats. So 87% of workers in their 30s prefer to do their own research.
Okay.
But 68% of them admit that they don't know as much about investing as they should. So while people are very independent-minded, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're doing the right things.
Yep.
That's also a concern. It just compounds the future problem down the road. And then only 15% of 60-somethings, people in their 60s, have an actual written retirement plan. So people
that's so surprising because I just thought that they were just doing a better job than we were.
Right. And that's just a concern because people have not calibrated the right targets, even at that advanced age right before they're going to retire.
Yep. So, Joe, when it comes to investing in retirement, you believe people generally understand the best practices, but they largely fail to execute in 3 key areas. Can you talk to my listeners about those?
Okay, so we already talked about one of them, and that is getting a reliable target dollar amount. ING came out with their commercials a long time ago, the big orange number above your head. That's a great thing for people to do. What's your number? Finding that target is good, but it does require computing the actual cost of that retirement stream of income that you're going to need, that increasing stream of income, and weighing other income sources before you can actually solve for what that number is reliably.
Okay.
Second is, now you've got to find the right savings amount to actually reach that dollar amount.
Yep.
That's very key. And I encourage people to aim for doing a percentage of their income and not trying to solve for a dollar amount they save on a monthly basis. It just makes it easier to increase the amount you're saving over time. And then finally, there's a big push, and it's a good thing for people to find low-cost investments and to diversify. But they need to go one step further, and this is where they're missing the boat, is they have to find the right asset allocation to go along with those two. Diversification only means that you're investing in a broad mix of different kinds of investments. But when I talk about asset allocation in its simplest form, it just means stock and bond mixture.
Makes
so
sense.
if you are investing in the majority of stocks, you're being very aggressive, you're going to get subject to a lot of volatility. But if you have time, that's going to beat the more conservative investments. So you'd be very surprised what the future value would be on an 80-20 mixture versus a 60-40 mixture.
Got it. So you think that your employer plays a huge role in turning around the retirement savings shortage. What can they do to be helping?
Well, first of all, most of our money is tied up with the employer-based plans. There's about $6.8 trillion in 401k plans right now. Only about 2/3 of the employees who actually are eligible to participate in those things actually sign up. That means about a third are delaying the actual savings part of retirement. So I encourage employers to think about auto-enrolling their employees. And that's not, the big misnomer is that you're taking the choice away from your employees, but there's an opt-out clause. It's very simple. All you have to do is check here and you don't sign up for the plan right away. So auto-enrollment, it's amazing how that helps. The next is auto-escalating your savings rate. If you can't bite the bullet and do exactly the right amount of savings that you've solved for, start with a lower number, but automatically increase it by 1 or 2% each year until you get to that target.
Makes sense.
And then finally, auto-allocating the investments. I really hate seeing a 401k investment lineup that it's just this big, long list of individual funds without any guidance on how to use those funds. The average person really can't look at that and understand how to get the right asset allocation and be properly diversified. So those are the things that I think employers can really help out with.
Perfect. Got to take us to a commercial, Joe, but I want to thank you so much for coming in. And a call to action for you, if you're listening to the show right now and you do not have a certified financial planner, you need to have one. Prepare for your retirement so you can enjoy your golden years, not be devastated during them. I've got an expert right here in studio. Call into the show, 1-855-400-1150. Again, it's 1-855-400-1150. If you didn't hear any of the show, go back to the website, The Money Hour, and you can listen to the podcast. Joe, thank you so much for being here and excited to have you back in.
Thank you, Tina.
And coming up next in the Money Hour, learn how to buy 10 to 20 HUD homes per month at a 50 to 40% discount and even 30% of the list price without ever leaving your office. Larry Goins, founder of the Goins Group and active real estate investor, author, and coach right here on 1150 AM KKNW after the short break.
The thought of my sons growing up without me inspired me to quit smoking.
I talked to my doctors, and then I threw away all my cigarettes, ashtrays, and lighters.
I started exercising instead of smoking.
Getting support from friends online kept me on track.
Staying away from alcohol when I was first quitting was key.
Instead of smoking after I ate, I'd get up and take a walk.
I missed having a cigarette in my hand, so I'd hold a pen or a straw, anything.
Until I knew I wouldn't give in to temptation, I spent more time with my friends who didn't smoke.
I went to places that were smoke-free.
I didn't stay quit the very first time I tried.
I kept on trying, and I learned something each time.
Do whatever it takes.
No matter how many times it takes.
I quit.
I quit.
I quit.
We did it, so can you.
You can quit. For free help, call 1-800-QUIT-NOW. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and CDC.
This is the Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, on Alternative Talk, AM 1150. Now, back to the show with local mortgage and finance expert, Tina Mitchell.
Welcome back to the Money Hour with your host and mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell, right here on 1150 AM KKNW, the Saturday, May 30th show. I'm dedicated to my listeners, providing you with the tools needed to make informed decisions on all matters when it affects your money. If you're listening to my show at a different time or day, you are listening to a rebroadcast, you can call the show at 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150 or online at themoneyhour.com to discuss anything regarding your money or to talk with any of the guests that I have in studio today. And very excited. I don't have in studio because he's a little bit further than Seattle, but call in. We're on the phone with Larry Goins, founder of the Goins Group, an active real estate investor, author, and coach. And I'm excited for you to share, Larry, with my listeners how they can buy 10 to 20 HUD homes per month at a 50-40% discount and even just a measly 30% without even leaving their office. So very excited to have you here with my listeners today.
Thank you so much for having me. I really, really appreciate it. I'm really looking forward to our call today.
Perfect. So let me give my listeners a little background. Larry is an active real estate, as I said, investor, author, and coach, and travels the U.S. speaking and training audiences and conventions, expos, and real estate investment associations on his strategies for buying and selling 10 to 20 properties per month without ever leaving their home or office. Larry has written 2 books that can be found in bookstores everywhere, Getting Started in Real Estate, Day Trading, and HUD Homes Half Off. Between speaking engagements and mentoring investors, he oversees the daily operations of Investors Rehab, Inc., which is a real estate investment company that buys and sells 10 to 20 properties per month. As a husband, father, businessman, and real estate investor, Larry holds true to his core values and moral integrity. His personal and business motto is people and principles before profits. Love it. So let's go ahead and start out, Larry, with telling my listeners a little bit about you and your business.
Oh, well, thanks a lot. Yeah, I'm in Lake Wylie, South Carolina, as you can probably tell.
I can tell.
That's just across the state line from Charlotte, North Carolina. And I've actually bought and sold houses in 11 different states right from my office in Lake Wylie, South Carolina. And we do all of our business by phone, fax, FedEx, email, and internet. We never leave the office. We never look at the properties. And we typically have them sold in about 2 hours. And we do what I call real estate day trading. That's buying and selling a house the same day using the internet. We'll buy it at 10 o'clock and sell it at 10:30. A lot of people say, it takes 30, 60 days, whatever, to buy and sell a property. We own a property about 30 minutes.
Unbelievable. Now, I know, Larry, that you tried real estate several times before you became successful. Like anything in life, life is balanced, no exceptions. Every failure has a gain. Obviously, with your failures, you figured out what the gain was and how to succeed from it. So can you share what you did differently?
Well, yeah, I'll be glad to. I had tried real estate several times, and, real estate can be tricky. It can also be fearful to a lot of people. A lot of people say real estate is scary. Real estate's really not scary. It's just being uneducated. Once you get the education, then that takes the fear away, just like anything else. Just like listening to your show. You're providing a lot of information and content to get people more comfortable so they can go out there and make decisions and make money and go out and invest in properties. But I had tried real estate several times, and and like a lot of people, when I started out in real estate, I was working a full-time job, or a job, as I like to call it. And I was doing that, and it's very, very difficult. So I had to learn to use technology and to use technology to help me to be able to automate some of my business and to be able to help me to do this part-time, because a lot of people start a real estate business. They're working to try to get out of their full-time job.
Exactly.
Well, the problem is the way everybody else teaches you real estate is a second job. You didn't want the first one. Now you have two.
Yeah.
So, right?
It makes total sense. And, Larry, technology has been around for a long time, and we use it in every aspect as far as our life. But the reality of it is it still is really scary to a lot of people.
Absolutely it is. It really is. And I try to design all of my systems and processes and procedures, and I have one rule in mind.
Okay.
If you can send and receive email, you can use every system that I teach. I try to keep it that simple.
Awesome. So I know you have 9 steps to your system. If you're listening right now and you're not driving, if you are driving, pull over on the side of the road and grab a piece of pen and paper. If you're sitting at home on your couch, step up, get a piece of paper and a pen. And if you're not in a position to do that, that's okay. Go back to the site and listen to this, because I want you to write these down. We're going to walk through the 9 steps here. And let's go ahead and start out with step 1, analyze. So how do you analyze a deal?
Well, it's really simple. For me, I'm what's called a wholesaler, okay?
Okay.
I'm not going to fix and flip a property. I'm going to get it under contract at a deep discount, and then I'm going to turn around and pass that property along to somebody who is going to fix it up and flip it, or fix it up and keep it as a rental.
Okay.
So as a wholesaler, I get paid for making a lot of offers and negotiating deep discounts on a property.
Yep.
And I have a little simple analyzer. It sits right on your desktop. Literally, you plug in 2 figures. What's the after repaired value? In other words, what's the property going to be worth once it's fixed up?
Yep.
And what are the amount of repairs? As soon as we enter those 2 items, boom, it tells you within a split second exactly how much we can pay for that property. That doesn't mean that's my first offer.
Sure.
That's the most I can pay for that property. And I try to make $10,000 to $15,000 on every property. Do I do that on everyone? No.
Of course
I've
not.
sold deals and made a couple thousand, but I've also sold deals and made $75,000 on one deal.
Yeah. So I told my listeners before we called you in that it definitely was going to be a special time with you because you were actually going to give a book away. Can you tell them what book, by just listening to the show, where do they need to go and what are they going to receive?
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, my latest book is called HUD Homes Half Off. How to buy a HUD house at 50, 40, even 30% of list price. And I've done this in 11 different states. And in fact, you can get the book anywhere, but instead of paying for it, your listeners could simply go to www.freehudbook.com, and all they got to do is tell us where to send it, and we'll send them a free copy of it.
So freehudbook.com. If you didn't get that, call into the show, 1-855-400-1150, and I'll get you directly connected there. Larry, thank you so much for sharing that with my listeners. I really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure.
So let's go ahead and stop and to move into step 2, which is locate. So how do you find deals both off and online?
Well, there's a lot of different ways to do it. A lot of people are driving the streets. They see grass growing up in front of a house, whatever it is, old cars parked out there, or you can tell that a house is vacant. There's the MLS. There's Craigslist. You can search Craigslist ads. You can post your own Craigslist ads. There's tax liens, tax deeds. There's government auctions. Mm-hmm. There's auction.com, homesearch.com. The biggest source that we have right now, by far, is HUD Homes.
Yep.
HUD Homes are the simplest, fastest, easiest way I've seen to buy houses. They already have what's called a PCR, a property condition report.
Mm-hmm.
So you already have an idea as to how much repairs the property needs. Half of your work is already done. Is that great or what?
That's awesome. So let's get into step 3, which is negotiating, because I know that you are called the negotiator. Why is it so important, and what makes you different that you're actually in a position to negotiate?
Well, and that's a great point. Now, with HUD, there is no negotiating. You're dealing with the computer. You just submit your bids online.
Yes.
But when you're dealing with individuals or with realtors,
mm-hmm.
One thing I've found out over the years, Tina, is people do business with people they like and trust. And when I'm making a very, very low offer, they might be asking $100,000 for their house.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm offering $40,000, I've got to do it in a way that leaves the door open for them to call me back or me to call them back, where they're not yelling at me or hanging up on me.
Sure.
And that's what we've learned to do over the years is talk to people in a way that we're not putting down their property,
mm-hmm.
we're not taking advantage of their situation.
Sure.
We're trying to create a win-win situation for both parties.
Makes total sense. And I have to say, Larry, your voice over the phone is pretty nice. It sounds like you're a very nice guy. So I would consider negotiating with you.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
And let's go into step 4 is the contract. I know how important, and being in the mortgage arena, working through the contract with the realtors day in and day out, it's really important. So how do you structure your contracts different?
Well, that's one of the things that I do that's a little bit different. A lot of investors out here, and a lot of people teaching real estate investors, they will say when you're working with an individual, you want to have your own contract that's pro-buyer, that doesn't weigh toward the seller, it weighs toward the buyer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm totally different. I want to use the same contract that every realtor in the state uses. And the reason I do this is a couple of things. Number one, they're probably more familiar with it. And number two, if I'm ever on the phone or in person with a seller and they say, well, this sounds pretty good, let me just run it by my attorney.
Yep.
My standard answer is, that's not a problem. In fact, I encourage people to run it by their attorney.
Mm-hmm.
However, what you'll find is this is the exact same offer to purchase that every realtor in the state of uses on every purchase and sale.
Makes total sense. So we got 2 minutes left of the show. I want to get through these 9 steps. Let's get to step 5, inspecting the property. What is your advice there?
Well, what we do is we get what's called a CMA, comparative market analysis,
mm-hmm.
done by a real estate agent, and that'll give us an idea as to what the house will sell for. Then we'll be able to use that to help sell the property to one of our fix and flip investors, because they will know that they're actually going to make money on it.
Makes total sense. 6, do your due diligence. Different, what is it that you do?
Well, we used to get appraisals on the properties, okay? We don't do that anymore. We use the CMA, but we also will have a rehab contractor sometimes go out and look at the property and give us a write-up as to what they think it's going to take to fix the property up. Now we have some more tools to help us sell the property faster.
Got it. Step 7, we got 1 minute left to wrap up the show. You sell the property, you do it in 2 hours. What the heck?
Well, the key is it's much easier to find a house for a buyer than a buyer for a house. The key is build your buyer's list in advance, so when you get a property under contract, you simply shoot out an email and you have people lined up to buy it.
Love it. Let's pull things together here. Step 8, automation.
Websites, database, autoresponders, analyzers, things like that to help you really run your business and put 92% of your business on autopilot.
Step 9, go ahead and take us out, Larry. Tell my listeners what Step 9 is.
Step 9 is to duplicate. This is where you can eventually pull yourself out of the day-to-day operations of the business and have virtual assistants that you can hire for $2 or $3 per hour running your business for you, analyzing deals, making offers, submitting the contracts, and handling your closings for you.
Awesome. You heard it from the expert, Larry. You want to learn how to do 10 to 20 HUD homes per month, 50%, 40%, and even 30% discount on list price without ever leaving your home. You need to go to the website to get Larry's free book or call into the show. Larry, thank you so much. I'm so appreciative that you were able to join me on the phone and share your wealth of information with my listeners.
Awesome. It's been great. I hope they really got a lot out of it.
I'm sure they did. This is your host and mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell, signing off for the day. Everybody enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thank you for being here. I will be here same time, same place next weekend right here at 11:50 a.m. at KKNW. Bye, everyone.
The preceding program is paid for by Absolute Mortgage, a division of Pinnacle Capital Mortgage Corporation. Absolute Mortgage Company, NMLS number 81395 and Washington CL number 81395 is an equal opportunity housing lender. Tina Mitchell, MLO number 145420, is a licensed loan originator with Absolute Mortgage. Visit absoluteloans.com or call 888-90-HOMES for cost information.